Hello, back to Clayforge. My today's creation will be the crewmate from the game Among Us. I showed you a green crewmate, and in the video I'm going to make a red one. For this you need, of course, red clay for the main body, the backpack and every other thing, then a bit of blue for the visor, then a tiny little white dot for the visor, and as sometimes in Among Us you have accessories, a bit of accessoires, maybe a hat or something like that, and this crewmate is going to have an egg on his head. First, we need to make the body. As you can see, the body is relatively good size. I could make it bigger, I could make it smaller, but I think this is a very good size. And first, you roll the clay to a bit of a worm. If you want to make more of them, you can make sure that like every one of them is like the same size, it's the same diameter, and then you can take a knife, a sharp knife, and cut off the bottom part. Check again if it's good size. Yeah, making it a bit thinner. Yeah, that looks about right. And then we come already to the legs, as an Among Us imposter or crewmate doesn't really have much to him. This one has a tiny little mini crewmate on his head, but other than that, he just has two legs. I just smoothed a bit of the edges so it doesn't look so sharp, and then take a big knife. You know that there's just a square cut out, and for that just take a sharp knife again, cut here. For the next step, it's very simple if you just have a scalpel like I have. If not, it's a bit more difficult because you need to cut out the inner section. With scalpels, you can just go in there, cut right through, and then from the other side, and maybe you just have to stretch them out a bit, and then you can also try it with another knife. You maybe have to put it like into steps, so maybe cut out first this, and then that, and then the rest, so that you have a nice smooth place where you then can put the legs. After if you cut this out, it looks not that good, but then if you take like a silicone tool, anything that has a round shape, you can just smooth off the edges and then also press it with your fingers down till it becomes nice and smooth. Doesn't look so rough anymore. You can do this how long you want. You can keep the legs if you want like this, maybe smooth this a bit out, or you can try to make the legs very round. Like with this crewmate, the legs are very round at the end, and then you already have the body. The next part would then be the backpack. For the backpack, you just need a small blob of clay. The backpack is usually a bit of square, but also very round, so you can just push it down a bit, push a bit on the edges, the sides, put a bit on the ground, and you already have, I wouldn't say a perfect backpack, but still very good. You just place it on the back of the crewmate, and except for his visor and his head, he's nearly done. As we now have the crewmate and his head, the only thing left is the visor. The visor is in a vaguely squared shape, very round edges, and just push this ball of clay down again, and the visor is already done. But as most crewmates have like a shine on this visor, just take a little bit of white clay and put it onto here, taking it off the tail, and now you already have your finished crewmate. Just stick it onto him, make sure it's in the center, aligned with the backpack, egg on top, and he's done. Now there's still something you can do. As I said earlier, there might be a big problem for some people making this, if you want to make it and not just watch the video, with making the legs. As you know, probably if you have played the game, there are mostly two versions of a crewmate: the version alive and the version dead. And this is the one I'm going to create now. And for that, I'm going to make the legs in a different kind of way. So you take a ball of clay, cut it in half, and then take a worm of clay, remove the edges, smooth it out a bit, and then you have this tiny little worm of clay. Cut it at an angle. Then you just need to press it onto like that. You of course can align it a bit differently. I mean, this one is just the body lying down on the ground, so it doesn't have to be like perfect standing up. So as you can see, this wouldn't be with all points of the feet on the ground. You can just make it like that and everything. And to maybe hide a bit of this, just take another tool. You can take a clay shaper. You can also take a knife a bit. You're very careful and just push it down. You can also hide it a bit, and then you already have something that also looks like legs and is very easy to make in comparison to this, where you can already see it's not perfect. There's still a bit of something. It's not completely perfect as some people might want it, so this is a bit of an easier version for this. Now, if you know crewmates, it's a bit stupid to make it with red, because crewmates on their dead bodies have a bone and blood, or flesh, could say it, sticking out. And yeah, red blood on a red crewmate is not the best idea, but I already made it on a red crewmate. The only thing missing is the bone. Just take this, maybe a bit of brighter red, maybe a bit of orange, and you already have the flesh. And now just take a little bit of Sahara, bone white, whatever you want to call it, something that isn't completely white, but not too yellow either. And you just form a bone shape. You can make this by just rolling it to a worm, and then in the middle of the end, just press something down. You can still take a knife with that, maybe use that to make a tiny dent. This dent is like the comically version of a bone you always see in cartoons and comics. You just cut it in half, and you already have the bone you can place at the crewmate. Just doing it for the other one, and you already are done with it. Of course, the backpack is still missing, but as I told you, the backpack is a very easy thing to make. Just take another ball of clay. This time you don't need the full backpack, so you can cut it off, and you just squeeze it like that, cut it off, and take one of the bits, places onto here. And you already have the finished crewmate and his dead body. Better reporting. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.